What is up? It is DJ Martini Midwest Reviews coming at you with another video for my channel. Today I have a really good comparison between three mobile gaming PCs. I have the Steam Deck, I have the OneXPlayer 1S, and I have the GPD Win 3. These are all fantastic gaming, mini gaming portable machines, basically mini PCs. You can do a lot with them, and we're going to get into it and compare all three of them, let you know which one I think is the funnest. And which one, you know, if you're looking for all three of these, which one might be the best in certain situations for you. So thank you for tuning in, DJ Martini Midwest Reviews. If you like review videos, tutorial videos, all kinds of videos, all I like to do is do the research for you on these items, do a good review, an honest review, and do that research for you, and also leave some links in case you guys are interested in the products. I like to bring you valued items and just let you know all about them. If I can get my hands on them, I do buy most of the stuff all my own. If I can get my hands on them for you, I absolutely will. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to all my subscribers so much. You guys are awesome, always great feedback and that type of stuff. So please, if this is helpful at all, give me a like, subscribe, those types of things. All right, so it is the holidays and everybody's gonna be looking for these, so hopefully this kind of help you narrow some of these down if you don't know anything about them. All right, so let's get into it. First, we'll start with the Steam Deck. It is the most probably popular amongst a lot of people out there, and you know, it has all the specs that you would want in a mobile PC, and that's pretty much what it is. This is a little bit more console based in my opinion, so kind of like a Nintendo Switch, but this Nintendo Switch is for Steam Deck. So if you are a Steam gamer and game user, a lot of your Steam games will work on this particular model. Not all games in Steam, but a lot games that are great on Steam will work with this. So just something to put out there, and that's kind of a positive and a negative when it comes to Steam. There is games that work awesome on this, and there's games that are kind of glitchy and don't work very good, but just something to think about. So this does have, you know, some great specs. It has 16 gigs of RAM. This particular model that I have is 256 gigs memory SSD. They do have 64 gigs for a $399 version if you want to get in the door, but they haven't got them all built to get them out, get them out fast enough. So you can pick up the 512 and the 256 within 2 weeks, they're saying now, but I don't know how honest that is right now. But just something to think about, that it will take you a little while to get your hands on a great build quality. They do feel great in your hands. On specs, this one is the heaviest, but it really doesn't feel heavy. It is very comfortable to hold in your hands. Has great triggers, great D-pads, great control, all that kind of stuff. Touch pads here, but you know, I usually don't use them a lot. Here for X, Y, A, B, your buttons, and it has some nice option buttons that you can press in the actual Steam OS. Now I'm in desktop mode to kind of show you some things here in a second, but you know, it has great performance and build. It does have a power button here. You only have one USB port here. You have a 3.5mm jack, and then you have some volume buttons up top. You have some adjustable buttons on the back, and then you have a micro SD card on the bottom for expanding that memory, which I do have a 512 gig memory card in this as well. It does have an IPS LCD screen that is 7 inches at 60 hertz, 400 nits of brightness. It is a touch screen, and it does have 1280 by 800, 16 by 10 aspect ratio there as well. So it's kind of run by the specs, but like I said, I want to give you some things to think about. I do like the way the Linux system works with the Steam. Works fantastic. It's a console, just like it's supposed to be with Steam Deck and the games that you can provide. You can't get all the games, but you can get a lot of them that work really, really good. Things that are not fantastic. One last thing too that is awesome is charging and battery life. This one wins for best of all of that. Great battery life at up to probably 7 hours. Honestly, I can get 7 hours with light use, watching videos, doing some stuff that I want to do on this, a little bit of gaming, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I can get like 7 hours of battery life, which is fantastic for a device like this. Now, if you're doing heavy gaming on a AAA game with all the specs and brightness and everything, you're probably going to get 2 to 3 hours, but that is still pretty good when we talk about the other ones here in a little bit. So something to put on there, all positives. Also very easy to charge, not very picky. About 2 hours to charge to full, depending on where your battery's at, maybe a little bit more, a little less, but things like that. It gives a light on the top, white light to let you know on the top when it's charging and when it's not. So let's talk about some of my frustrations though. The keyboard is actually atrocious on this. I hate it. It's very frustrating. That's why I ended up purchasing a little mobile keyboard here, and also purchasing a little mini hub here with an extension cord. That way I can make it really long and not worry about where I put it. That way you can add extra things because you only have one USB port. It's for charging and for data. That's it. You don't have any extra plugins or ports to plug anything in. So you need that hub for it to be able to do other stuff for you if that's what you want. And so, like I said, the keyboard, I don't like it. So you have to hit the Steam button and the X button to pop it up. They should have made some other button that is programmed to do that. You shouldn't have to hit the Steam button and the X button. It should be one button and it should pop up the keyboard for you somehow. So that's very annoying. And also the keyboard doesn't work. I think it works better when you use the D-pad. Now you can see that you can kind of do it with some craziness here, but that's not very easy to control. You can see that it's very sensitive. So I ended up using the D-pad and the A button, and you can type in with the D-pad and the A button. It does take a little bit of work to figure that out. When you want the keyboard to go away, then you just press that Steam button again and it goes away. But it is tough, and I really don't like the keyboard and the way it works on this. So that's just my pet peeve. Some people may like it. Now, if you want to deck the Steam Deck out in the desktop mode, you absolutely can. You can do so much with this other than playing Steam games. You can, do anything really. They keep adding more and more and more. You can get the Xbox Game Pass on it. You can get the PS5 remote on it, 5 games, PS4 games, Xbox games, things like that. You can get your Epic Game Launcher. You can launch that. You can get Ubisoft and, all kinds of extras on here. It's just going to take a lot of work. You're going to have to go to SteamGrid.db to get some artwork for those things, or you're just going to have blank spaces everywhere. So it does take a lot of learning and work to get everything you want on the Steam Deck. So just absolutely something to think about when you're getting this and you want extras other than just Steam stuff. It's going to take some work, but it is really, really good and it works well. So you can do a lot with it, but like I said, it's a lot of work to do things like add Windows to it, a dual boot, maybe run Windows Go or things like that. It's work, and you'll have to really do some research to put it on here. So it is the cheapest of the bunch at $399 if you can find it for that price and get it within Christmas, but I doubt you're going to be able to do that. If not, you can opt for a little bit more expensive, the $649 or the $549, $512, just basically adding memory to it. So something to think about. Options, very popular if you really like to use the Steam OS and you the Linux Arch-based system of Steam OS 3.0. So doing updates and everything's pretty similar on all the devices. They do them for you, and you can add them when you need them and that type of thing. Pretty similar to Windows-based items is all. But all right, let's go to the next item into a final thoughts at the very end, but let's go to the GPD Win 3 of all the bunch. Honestly, this is one of my favorites. I do like them all. They all do something just a little bit better. Kind of go into that at the end, but this is the most portable. This one reminds me most of your telephone. This is a 5.5 inch screen IPS. This does have 1 terabyte of memory in it, and it does cost about $12.49 retail. You can probably get it for about $1,100 but it is pretty expensive. It does have some cool features that we'll get into, but it does have 16 gigs of RAM. It does have Alps dual joysticks that feel really, really nice. It does have the Tiger Lake 1195 processor with the 16 gigs of RAM. It is an i7. It does have a flip screen Gorilla Glass 1080 by 720, which is a little bit of the less resolution, but it'll surprise you. Stereo speakers, a backlit keyboard, and very easy to work with because it has some extra hookups for you. It does have a 3.5mm jack. It does have your triggers, and everything is nice, like those Alpine sticks. Like I said, I'm starting it up right now. It does have select and start here, and it does have a switch to go from controller mode to mouse mode, which is very cool. I do like that. You can see that I have Windows 11 on here, so it does take Windows 11. It does have a fingerprint scanner that is a little iffy sometimes, but there, I finally got it to go on the 3rd time. It does have your X, Y, A, B, and like I said, your Alpine. The triggers are nice, like I said, right up to the frame, so you don't miss them. And then the triggers are nice too. They're a little small, but you can get used to them. It does have a little bit more features with a USB port right here, and then also you have your USB Type-C on the bottom, which you do charge from the bottom. which is nice to have that charger from the bottom. You can see that the mouse does work here, and then you use your toggles to click like a mouse. So that's kind of cool. So it's easier to use. And then when you want to type something, no pulling up a keyboard. You have a keyboard right here that is backlit, lights up for you, and it does have some, I don't know if you can hear that, but it does have some feedback. When you touch a number or letter or whatever, you can feel the feedback of what button you're hitting, so you know you're hitting a key. So that is kind of cool. You can hear some fan noise. Of all of them, this one probably is the noisiest, even more than the OneXPlayer, which is a lot bigger. The fan is a little bit annoying, but it does have really good speakers, so it does make up for it there. Like I said, of all these, this is the most portable. Like if I'm going to go somewhere, I'm taking this with me because it's really easy. It's really small to take. I can put it in a case like this, and I'm out the door with it. And you know, it just feels like a phone with a joystick, you know, with some joysticks on it. So it is very nice, very portable, and it's Windows based. So Windows 11, I can put whatever I want on it, and I'm used to that. I can do whatever I want. Epic, Steam, PlayStation Remote, Xbox, Windows, anything Windows you want to do it. You can do office work on here. You can do all kinds of things on here. Very cool. It is a mini PC. That's exactly what it is, and you can do a lot of stuff. I do like its build quality. It does have special features too on the back buttons here, where you can hit it and it's going to bring up a menu with all your, you know, performance, and then you can capture. It brings you a little social box here, and you have a lot of little options within just pressing one click of the back button. In there. So your PC mode here, you can have the mouse on and you can go through all your options with it very, very easily, and it works very, very, very good. So a lot of positive with this, in my opinion. It does have the Iris Xe Gen vibration with the keys, easy to work with the USB hubs. Battery life is pretty decent. With heavy use, you're probably going to get 2 to 3 hours of heavy use, like AAA games, playing things like that. Light use, it does have pretty good battery life. I was impressed with it. Maybe 4 to 5 hours with light use, depending on what you're doing. If you're just, you know, doing some office type stuff and searching things on the internet, surfing, those types of things, you can get some pretty good battery life on this, which is surprising. And I do like the mouse, the way it works. Negatives on this though is, you know, Windows updates a lot. So if you update this, you do want to keep this updated, especially for security purposes and things like that. So make sure you do all your updates. The PS5 remote was a little challenging. You have to basically hook this up to a separate screen to be able to get that done. There's a little finagling to get your PS5 remote on here, but because of the resolution only being 720, so something to think about there. Fingerprint scanner, not the best. Like I said, it took me about 3 times to get it when I was trying to show you. And then also the mouse, even though it has good control on the mouse, it's really kind of slow. Kind of drifts, and I have it on the fastest setting to try to get around. Some of my negatives, there's not a lot of negatives. Actually, this is one of my favorite little mini gaming PCs. This is the ultimate portable unit. So if you want something portable, something that uses Windows, something you can put a lot of stuff on, has a keyboard, you don't have to buy a lot of extra accessories for this unless you want to. It does work, you know, good with an extra keyboard or a USB port hub, but you do have a couple extra to put. You can add memory to it, micro SD card memory to it, but you can also use a USB or a USB Type-C to add memory to it, or you can put a hub on it, or you can hook this to a PC or a USB Type-C hub and with an HDMI, and you can hook it up to a bigger screen. You can do that with the Steam Deck as well, but you would need that hub for sure with that because you only have the one port. So very, very cool. I do like this. Most portable, good battery life, has a keyboard, so you're just not having to get some of those accessories. Lastly, but is the OneXPlayer. This is the behemoth. This is an 8.4 inch screen. That was a 5.5. The OneXPlayer does retail for $1349, $1249 if you're going for a 512 model, 512 gigs. It does have the 1920 by 1200, which is, you know, almost 2.5K resolution, 16 gigs, 1 terabyte. My particular model has 1 terabyte of memory, has the 2 stereo speakers. It is loud. It does sound really good. It has Windows 11 installed, just like the GPD Win 3. There is a GPD Win 4, so if you want to upgrade, but look into that model later. This does have more ports on it. It does have 2 USB Type-Cs. One's a 3.2, I believe, and one's a 4.0. One's more for just charging. You're just going to want to charge it, and you're going to want to make sure that you put it in the right charger, because there's actually like a little plug-in mark at the top of this that you can see right there. So you're going to want to make sure you charge in that port only. But it does have a USB Type A, yes, right there, and you see 3.5 millimeter jack, micro SD card reader on the bottom. Basically those dots right there are for your keyboard, which it can get an extra keyboard for it. It does have joysticks as well with your A, B, X, Y buttons. It does have some menu buttons up here and down there. It does have a turbo button for your best performance and a keyboard button, which is nice. That keyboard button saves you from having to hit the Steam Deck button and the X button, you know what I mean? It does have a 8.4-inch screen and does have the best resolution, like I said. So some of the negatives on this is does have a little bit of fan noise, but not as much as a GPD Win 3. It does have an ultra high fan speed, but that does add to that fan noise. It does have some controller issues. A control mapping app on here to be able to, when I hook up certain controls, I can map it to this. So that was something that I had to do that I didn't have to do on the GPD Win 3. I don't know why, but you know, for some reason I had to do that on One X. It does weigh a 1.3 pounds, which is, you know, right there, up there. But to me, this one feels the heaviest. So I don't know if the specs are wrong, but this does feel the heaviest of the bunch. And it's so large that it is uncomfortable to hold for longer than 30 minutes, in my opinion. So I usually you know, rest my hands on something, kind of hold it perched up on something, and it's not so bad. So in bed, maybe not too bad, because you can kind of rest your elbows on the bed, and it's not too bad to use. It does have, like I said, some mapping issues, and the biggest issue with this is the turbo button, which is really going to use your battery life. This one has the worst battery life of all of them. Of course, it does have the bigger screen. It does have the same processing power as kind of like the One X, because it does have an i7 Tiger Lake CPU. It does have the 16 gigs and 1 terabyte of SSD, but you get the worst battery life, especially when you're running the turbo and you're running the best specs that you can run, brightness, all that kind of stuff. It only is going to have an hour and a half to 2 hours, so it's going to run by pretty quick on you. If you turn the non-turbo off, you're probably going to get 2.5 to 3 hours. And then if you know, just did some regular use, you get 3 hours with light use, but it's really going to go a lot faster than a lot of the other ones. So just something to think about. And also, this has a really, I don't know if they've corrected it. This is a first gen model, but I've had a lot of issues with charging this. If you lose your factory charger, which they aren't made very well, in my opinion, if you lose your factory charger, finding a charger for this is kind of hard to do. I had to actually order and send back a few of them because they would not charge this because they don't put out enough amps. You need something that puts out about, has to be above 3.2 amps at 65 watts to be able to charge this correctly, and it will not work. It'll say it's working, but it will not charge if it's not over those amps. So I found an Anker 3.5 volt 3.25 amp 65 watt charger that does the trick. I also found a Heisei 100 watt charger with a 3.25 amp as well that does the trick as well. So it's just something to think about. You have to find the right charger to charge this. I've had issues. Also, you can't use this while being charged at the same time. At least I can't with my model. And it will go all the way to 0. It'll die. You turn it back on, and then you can use it while it's on. It will not charge, but it will run. So that's something to think about too. So you can't charge this at the same time at using it. At least I haven't found a charger that'll do that, and at least that's on my model only. It might not work on they might have fixed the issue or have a better charger or something, but it will not work on this One S 8.4-inch screen model. So it does have a keyboard you can purchase with it, and it does hook up into this. So here's the keyboard right here, and it just connects right onto the bottom here. You can see, so it makes it almost like a little mini computer setup. The keyboard is okay. It's kind of cheap. It's okay, but the mouse pad is absolutely bad, so it doesn't work very well. but the keyboard works. So that's handy, and it is a little bit better than the keyboard that's on here, which is actual Windows computer keyboard, but you know, it's not too bad. It's not awful. And this is definitely a lot easier to use than the Steam Deck keyboard, in my opinion. So still going to want accessories for all of these, like the USB hubs. You're going to want hubs. You're going to want maybe a mouse. You're going to maybe want a portable keyboard for some of them maybe. You're definitely going to want to invest in a very good SD card. I have a lot of videos on SD cards, micro SD cards, to upgrade your memory from 512, 256 gig, whatever you want. But you're definitely going to want some of those things to accessorize these mini mobile PCs. All right, everyone, final thoughts on the three gaming PCs is, break it down to you. If you really like a portable mini phone-like mini gaming PC, then the GPD Win 3 is definitely a win for you, because it's a 5.5 inch screen with that 1195 Tiger Lake i7, has a lot of processing power, 16 gigs RAM, has 1 terabyte of memory. It's really going to work good. Almost be like a phone size, but you still have those controllers on the side, still have the mouse and controller mode, so you can really use it as a PC, do a lot of things, has a keyboard on it. It is the ultimate little mini portable PC, in my opinion. I really like it. Not only could do some office work on it, you can definitely get some gaming done, and it'll be really fun. It also looks better than you would think for having that 720 resolution, only being 720, but it actually, you know, looks a lot better than you would think for that mini screen. So I absolutely love it. It's probably one of my favorite units out there because it's just so portable, and I end up taking that one the most if I'm on the go. So it really is fun to use. The next on my list is the Steam Deck. It absolutely does work, has the best battery life of the bunch. It really works great with Steam. It was a lot of work to put all the extras on it that I wanted, but if you're willing to do the work to get that done, then it's not too bad. It is some work, and it will take you some hours and some time to get all that done, but it is a really fun machine, and it has a lot of battery life. The screen looks really good, and you know, you can get a lot of gaming done on it as well. You can also put Windows on it if you wanted to put Windows Go or a dual boot or things like that, and you could still have some fun with it that way as well. So I put the Steam Deck in next because of the price as well, being at $649, being the cheapest of the bunch, even at the best model that they have out there. I only have the 256 gig, but you can get that 512 or the 64, but it's going to take you a little bit of extra time to get it as well. So the third on my list is the OneXPlayer. Even though I do love the giant screen, the battery life is just not as good. You're not going to get the battery, you just notice compared to the other models that the battery life just eats away really fast with that bigger screen. It does have the best resolution, and you know, for me it feels like it processes really well, even though it has the same processor as the GPD Win 3 with that 1195 Tiger Lake i7, but it just feels like it works a little faster with that turbo button, and you can get a lot more done, loaded, downloads, things like that, done a little bit faster with it. That battery life is a really negative because you really notice that it just dies really quick. You're only absolutely getting those 2 hours for most things, maybe a little extra with some lighter use, but you just notice that battery life. And also it's really picky charging, so that's another negative for me, of having to find that correct charger. I can't charge it while I'm using it, so that's kind of a downer in my opinion as well, and I have to let it die to restart it. That's also a downer for me as well. So it just has some negatives for me with the charging and the battery life, but it does have the best resolution, the biggest screen, and you know, it has a lot of options with having some accessories for it that are really easy to get with the keyboard and having some extra ports and things like that. I have a lot more options for to upgrade and to put hubs on it and things like that. So it is cool that way. I do like the bigger screen as well. It is, to me, feels like the heaviest of the bunch as well. So it's a little bit more cumbersome. You're going to want to put it down. You don't feel like holding it the whole time. So all those things add up and put it third on my list, but it is still really, really cool, and it is enjoyable to have the really good stereo speakers and the really big screen. It is very, very tempting, and I am happy that I have one. So thank you so much for tuning in. This has been DJ Martini Midwest Reviews. If this is helpful at all, please give me some likes and subscribes, and stay tuned for the next video or tutorial coming up on whatever I can get my hands on. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. DJ Martini Midwest Reviews.